Welcome to the Wealth Genius Podcast, brought to you by the Expand Wealth Real Estate Fund. Expand your wealth by investing in apartment buildings. Go to expandwealthfund.com to book your info session. The Wealth Genius Podcast, strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The Wealth Genius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Helen Cuadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
It is our second in-person live podcast. Are you guys excited? Yeah. Make some noise, make some noise. So you see, you can go to the podcast and listen to yourself. Just listen for yourself. We got a panel here of experts, and these are people that I respect, and I can't wait for you guys to meet and see what they got going on. So let's start at the far end. Introduce yourself and what you do, where are you from, what you got going on.
Thomas Lorini, the U.S. Dealmaker, born and raised here in Toronto, transferred down to the U.S., now reside in California, dual citizen, investing both Canada and the U.S., partnered with Alfonso in the Wealth Genius community about 4 years ago. We've got an amazing community in the U.S. as well, but really focused on helping Canadians learn how to invest in the U.S. Recently published my first book, Borderless Wealth, and I'm excited to connect with more of you guys and for this weekend. Thanks.
Woo! Make some noise, make some noise, make some noise.
Calvin Hexter from Edmonton, Alberta. We run a investor-focused real estate team and work with clients all across Canada. And anybody that's looking to go into the States, we send it over to a good friend, Thomas. And we're happy to be here this weekend. So go Jays!
Woo!
Patrick Francy, CEO of the Real Estate Investment Network, host of my podcast, The Everyday Millionaire and Mindset Matters. Let me just slow down. I'm bi-provincial. So Alberta, British Columbia, I hang out in both those provinces, multiple business owners, and for over 40 years, and I'm just here to serve, hang out this weekend.
Make some noise, make some noise. And the grandfather of real estate.
I'm the grandfather of real estate.
The great-grandfather?
No.
No, okay, too far. Hi, folks. My name is JG. JG is short for Jean-Guy. I'm the CEO of Vistra Property Group, and we operate a $100 million real estate company here in Ontario, 100% Ontario-focused. We manage, we build, we help people turn grass into cash. That has nothing to do with cannabis. You'll hear more about that on Sunday from the main stage.
Woo! Make some noise, make some noise, make some noise.
I am Helen, and I am the other half of the Cuadra group of companies.
Woo!
And,
the better half.
my full-time job is actually just, accompanying this fella on the road. But what I also get to do is look after the properties. We have a property management company, take care of some of the things in Wealth Genius. I am the CPO of Wealth Genius, which is the Chief Party Officer. That is my title.
Let's make some noise.
That is my title. So for this weekend, that is what we will do.
Thank you, Helene. My name is Andrei Levchenko. I'm the Managing Director for TAG Law. Raised here in Mississauga, but I was born in the former Yugoslavia. Also happen to be a former federal public servant here in Canada. And between those two experiences, I'm very averse to taxation and what a government does or purports to do with it. So I'm an investor-focused lawyer. Our practice acts across the country. We close in Alberta and Ontario. But otherwise, we're bringing all the loopholes and as much education and ways for folks to structure, hold their real estate in better ways, reduce risk, reduce taxes, and otherwise keep your blood, sweat, and tears for yourselves as opposed to your magnanimous government.
Ooh, I like that. Keep the money away from the government.
Woohoo to that. Hi, I'm Wendy Russell. I spent about 30 years in the film and television industry. I had a show on HGTV back in the day called She's Crafty. And with that, I also was a renovator and a real estate investor. Our company is Love Your Work Properties with my husband. And I'm head of acquisitions, and I also do the property management, Airbnb superhost for the last 5 years. And we've been investing in the U.S. for 15 years, so also U.S. investor. And now I coach entrepreneurs and real estate professionals to get visible and work on their personal brand so that they can show up and stand up and speak up and play big in this lifetime so that they can create the portfolio of their dreams.
Make some noise. Woo!
Good afternoon. My name is Harris Newman. I am born in Montreal, moved to Toronto many, many years ago, so I've been here for a lifetime, it feels like. I spent 30 years in the banking business. I'm now a mortgage agent and have been for the last 7 years. Focused around investor-based. I've had the pleasure of working with Alfonso a few times now, and very excited for the weekend. We specialize in CMHC, MLI Select, and CMHC Traditional, and real estate on the residential side. We do coast to coast, so whether it's all the way from East Coast, all the way to West Coast, including Quebec, we've got access to a number of lenders along the way to get your financing in order.
Make some noise. Can everyone say, show me the money? Show me the money. So the first question, and if you guys have questions, please feel free to raise your hand at any time. But we're just going to kick things off here, and just kind of your 30-second view of where we are in real estate today.
Are you a buyer? If you are a buyer, there is plenty of opportunities.
That's what I say every day. That's what I say every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great time to be investing in real estate. There are certainly properties that are sitting a lot longer than normal, which creates opportunities for you to be able to get them at much better prices. Financing is quite accessible, and there's a variety of lending, whether it's A lending, B lending. There's a variety of different lenders we can look at. Certainly, as we talked about earlier, the overnight lending rate dropped this week, so good news on that as well.
Make some noise, make some noise, make some noise!
So down to 4.45 now for prime lending rate, minus any discounts on that. So anyways, it's great news.
How about that bond?
How about that bond? Yeah, it's nice little improvement on that too. Hopefully we'll see some fixed rates start to come down now too.
I'm happy for that. Make
Absolutely.
some noise. So pass it along.
Passing.
All right, pass.
Wait, so what are you doing? Strategies? What's the state of real estate today for you?
That's a great question, because I want all of you to know that you need to be flexible on your strategy. So if you're like, I'm just going to do, multifamily, or I'm just going to do X, Y, Z, whatever, be open to that. We typically take a single family home and we turn it into a duplex, or we've also done multifamily. We own multifamily buildings in the U.S. at one point. That was our strategy. We do a lot of short-term rentals as well, long-term rentals. We have just moved into the flipping space, which is new to us, because single-family homes are really accessible in the U.S., and right now we're really focused on the U.S. We're working on a flip in Indianapolis right now as we speak. We just bought bank-owned, and because of the way the market is right now, there are a lot of bank-owned properties coming up. And when you're investing in the U.S., you have special access to all of people's personal information when you are down there. You literally can find out how much someone still owes on a mortgage down there, and their name and all the properties they own. Unlike Canada, it's pretty incredible. So we have been looking at bank-owned properties, and I think my hot tip for that would be the bank lies. So we put an offer in on a bank, or a bank-owned that was sitting there for 90 days. The day we put the offer in, they came back and said, yeah, we have 5 offers on the table. And we played along, and it wasn't true. We found out later. So they just wanted us to give us their highest and best, but because we have access to the information, we found out that the bank was owed by the seller, the one that sort of foreclosed. He owed $127,000, so we came back in at $129, and they took it. So, so long as they're getting their money back plus a tiny bonus, they were happy. So that's the strategy right now. We're doing some flips in the U.S.
To keep the optimism going, so I share a lot of the comments. For a lot of folks, COVID was a painful time, and some folks got shaken out because of that. But rates are improving for those that were able to persevere. They're back in the game. They're still in the game. And the lessons or the takeaways that I've seen with clients, we all got a little a little carried away during the COVID period. You know, year after year, 30% increase in price, 40% increase refinance. I got hundreds of thousands of millions. Life was really good.
Hashtag living my best life.
It's now great for lawyers because a lot of folks got really comfortable. There was a lot of trust. Some things weren't written down. Other things were written down. Were very loose. Oh, if a problem arises, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. Sure, when we're both appreciating our portfolios 100, 150% a year, right? So going into this next phase, do take that extra time. Really speak with your business partners, your joint venture partners, your investors. Get that stuff put down into writing. Don't pay me or folks in my profession more money down the road. Pay a couple of bucks to paper it properly out front. And learn from the discomfort and from the pain of the last couple of years to better position yourself through the next couple of years, so that when the next downturn comes, and it's always up and down, you're in a better position. You'll either stagnate or just go a little bit lower, and then be even more primed to go up for when the next boom comes. And there's a lot of young folks that I see here in the crowd, people that are graduating. So this is really speaking to you guys. Talk to the baby boomers, the folks with a lot of experience. Learn from their mistakes. Don't repeat those mistakes. Let's all grow the pie together.
Hey. For the folks in the back that are coming in, there's seats in the front. You guys can come this way. There's lots of seating in the front. There's seating right here, so don't worry. We got lots of seats.
Well, carrying on with the positive side, from the property management perspective, things actually are very positive. So we mostly invest in Ontario, and I actually love it. I can tell you right now, things have cooled down in the Landlord-tenant board, and that now it doesn't take 12 months to get your case heard. So everything is positive when it's like that. But also, things have settled a little bit more where there's not that huge free-for-all rent increase where rents are just skyrocketing each time a tenant moves out. So things have kind of stabilized a little bit. It's a little bit more difficult getting a tenant in. By a little bit more difficult, I mean we might not have 100 applications. We might only have 70. So, I mean, it's still pretty good. But also, there's going to be some changes coming up. And the MP of the region in Brockville was at an event we were at in our open house when we had our opening of our new building. And he was actually saying that he loves when landlords call and they want to hear from landlords because they're trying to make some changes and implement some positive new steps. So just a thought, if you're one of those type of people who likes to get involved in community and things like that, you may want to address your local provincial MP to have a little conversation because they're open to having conversations. So
and it was great. The mayor and the MP showed up.
The MP showed that
open
they want
our
houses.
building.
Yeah,
you know, it took a nice photo op. So it was in the newspaper. They're like, "Yeah, we did it."
And they stuck around for over an hour just to chat. So they wanted to hear. They wanted to know what our experiences were like as landlords and how they can make things better. So just an open opportunity that might be out there if anyone's thinking of.
And one thing that they said was, "We just got to get out of your way."
Yeah.
That's what they told us.
They said, like, we want people to build, and we need to make it as easy as possible. And so there's people that want us, and you just need to get in there. So that's a good thing.
That's awesome.
Hey.
Wow. I mean, I feel like I'm surrounded by a bunch of positive people. This is so cool. I'm usually the only one with the rose-colored glasses on, so this is fantastic. Couple things. Number one, I'm going to speak more about this on Sunday, but this is, I'm calling this the missing middle moment. This is the moment to fill the gap on the missing middle, and I quite frankly think that this is an incredible real estate opportunity for anyone that has a view of real estate that is 10, 15, 20, 30 years deep. You're not going to see buying opportunities like this very often in your life, frankly, is the way I feel. And I think that when it comes to missing middle, it's all about, right now we're in an era of what I'm calling an era of optimization. How do you take a single family home and optimize it so it generates more cash flow? And by doing that, I'm talking about adding an ARU basement suite, adding a coach home, adding an ADU, adding a fourth unit, doing duplex additions. There's a bunch of options right now that have totally eliminated a lot of the acquisition and frictional costs in real estate, which really drives up your ROI. And those margins are going to go away. You will see, as more and more people do that, the opportunity will get less and less. So right now is an incredible time. That's how I feel.
Nice.
Beautiful. I think to riff off a couple of different comments that were made, Wendy said something that, it's time, you have to look at strategy. So over the boom cycle that we went through, all boats rise on a high tide. We all experienced that. Boom cycles are really cool. They're really fun. Everybody's a genius. And then we hit the slump cycle. The point is there's no bad time to invest in real estate, and we've taught this thought process for years and years. There's no bad time to invest in real estate. There's just the wrong strategy given what's going on economically. So I think fundamentally we all have to look at what's going. And again, all boats rise on a high tide. And when you looked across the country through that boom cycle, everybody was in a boom cycle. So it didn't matter where you invested money, everybody seemed to be gaining from it. Right now, the key is that be very strategic in your thought process, because not all markets, not all regions are as strong as another region. So be very careful. I'm a big fan of seeing the tertiary markets. I think the big city markets are not going to have as much upside as the outlying markets. And people are moving from those markets for all sorts of reasons. And so when we look at the data, and that's kind of where I come at it from, is take the emotion out of it, look at the data, look into the future where real estate is going, and start to be very strategic in the strategy that you're going to use, but focus on markets, understand what's driving that market. So it's not just because it's cheap, because there's jobs there's GDP growth, we see futures given that particular market, and then you start to make decisions from that place. So I think that's the key part of it, is that be very focused, very strategic on strategy, but also strategic of where you're going to invest. And that will take you a long way forward, that's for sure.
Love it. Yeah. When you're investing, your playbook and strategy should fit the market that you're investing in, and your playbook that you're utilizing is not going to follow you with every single game you're in. So you need to understand what game you're in right now. For the Alberta market and a lot of our markets, Alberta market has gone from a seller's market, which we've been very comfortable in for the last 2 years, and now we're transitioning to a balanced market, but we're also transitioning into Q4. So if I were to ask you, what's kind of the perfect storm when it comes to investment opportunities? As a buyer, is it when the market is expanding and prices are getting more expensive, or is it when the market's contracting? What do you guys think? Contracting. Because a lot of sellers are used to market where their house goes up for sale and then it sells within the same day. They'll put their price at whatever price they want, they'll put it out there, and someone will end up purchasing it. What's happening now is the harsh reality is that there's buyers aren't willing to pay what they want. And we're also going into Q4. Seasonally with Q4, do we see more primary home buyers or less primary home buyers? Less. Does that mean more competition or less competition for you as an investor? Less. So when it comes to having the right playbook for the right market, this is creating a lot more opportunities. So let's talk about what those opportunities are. And I'm going to maybe give you 4 today, and I'll give you the rest tomorrow. And this is not limited by the province you're in. You can use these strategies in any province, okay? So when you're looking at finding a really good deal, right now look for vacant properties. You can do a search for vacant properties, and you want to put offers on those properties. Normally, whenever we're in a hot market, you're seeing 99.5% of list price to sale price. Right now, we're seeing 90%, 85% of list price. What you see as list price means nothing. A lot of sellers we work with will tell me if you can get an offer. For example, we were representing a seller at $2.5 million. He was willing to accept 1.9, a $600,000 price break, but he wasn't willing to adjust the price on the MLS. So I was trying to tell the entire world, just send me an offer at 1.9 so we can get it sold. Nobody did, unfortunately, and we're going to end up relisting next year. This is the time to take your shot. If there's an opportunity to just take your shot, put your offer out there. When you put an offer out there, unless it's unconditional, you still have time to figure it out, right? Get an offer out there. You'd be surprised on what you can get. Look for the vacant properties, because how many homeowners do not want to be accidental landlords and putting tenants that they cannot get out of the property, right? So this is the time frame that you want to be able to put those offers in. Look at properties and do a search for realtor bonuses. If there's a realtor bonus that's advertised in the public or private remarks, you can likely get that bonus and have it reduced off of the list price. Look at properties that have consecutive price drops. You might find more motivated sellers. Okay, that's another one. Look at consecutive price drops. You can look at cumulative days on market. Find a seller that's doing like 10K price drops every other week. Find an opportunity for them to get out, right? Other opportunities as well is you can look at properties, court foreclosures. We know that most court foreclosures, they don't look at offers within 7 days. Write them an offer after 21 days. If it's still sitting on the market, you're probably not going to be competing against much competition, right? So there's lots of little windows of opportunities of how you can start sourcing out deals that you normally wouldn't be able to find in other markets. And I'm not going to tell you that the same strategy is going to work in January or February, because it's not. Most sellers in January, February are going to hold on until the spring market when they start to see more inventory hit. The window of time is literally right now until December. So when I talk with Alfonso and everybody else in 2026, it's a different strategy book that's going to fit the market. But there's tons of opportunity right now. You just got to know how to look for it.
Awesome.
Yeah. And one thing on that, I've been saying that, most people, they try to time the bottom. And by the time you're trying to time the bottom, you're already up. You've already missed it. And so it's, we've said this for ages, it's time in the market, get in, and you want to get in when you have the leverage. And right now we have leverage in terms of negotiations and a lot of properties sitting on the market. So, yeah, when you say December, I would have to agree.
Same with me. I've done very well in December acquiring properties. It just seems to be everyone's out to lunch or on vacation mode. And you have to snag up some great properties. Exactly.
We got to slow down.
I mean, especially in the U.S., from between Thanksgiving, which is late November, to the end of the year, it's everyone's in holiday mode. You could pick up some good deals around Christmas. You got some great advice, guys. Hopefully you guys are appreciating this. To kind of build off what Patrick was saying, I mean, real estate is really a market specific. So like, I'm very familiar with, Ontario, California, Ohio, and each market is very different. So right now, I think I read something where it was like 53 condos sold in Ontario or Toronto in the last, month or something. It's crazy, right? So the market here is dead?
There's probably one guy that's scooping up all those condos.
I was like,
lowballing everybody,
So basically the market here is dead, right? Compare that to, like, I'm in California, Southern California. I was involved in a deal a week ago, 57 offers on a property. We ended up getting it, luckily because of the relationship I had with the selling agent. And we're quickly relisting it. We were basically wholetailing it. We bought it, we put it in the market the day after. People are calling, are you raising the price? I mean, no. There's 50 other offers, so we're gonna basically make 100 grand like in a week, right? So again, depending on where you're at, where you live, where you consider investing, I mean, you gotta understand different markets are different at different points in the cycle. Ohio, been investing there for a number of years. What we're seeing a little bit more inventory. So the market's kind of not cooled off, but because of more inventory, sellers are starting to be a little bit more open to lower offers. We made an offer on a multifamily a couple months ago, and the seller said no. And then 2 weeks ago, the broker's like, hey, is that offer still good, right? Versus like a year ago, we wouldn't see that. So now it's like, all right, no, the offer's not good anymore. Let me think about it, type of thing. So again, it's to encourage you, just don't look in your backyard. And that's why, again, the idea of crossing the border, I mean, it's going across the country. You have to really find out what markets are working well today. And that's part of your due diligence and connections into the network and your, online, whatever, and go and visit those markets as well. But yeah, I mean, the market where we are in Southern California is doing very well versus other markets aren't. And one more thing that just came to my mind, when we are acquiring properties, valuations. So we tend to get appraisals, and what we're seeing lately is appraisal comes in, let's say, at $2 million, but the open market's not going to trade at $2 million. So depending on what strategy you're trying to apply, if you're thinking, I'm going to sell this property, you may only get maybe 1.6, 1.7 open market, right? So again, whatever your strategy is, know ahead of time, all these considerations. So again, if we're buying this property to sell it in 1 or 2 years, that may be too short of a period of time to get the anticipated value you're thinking you're getting. Because people think, I got an appraisal for $2 million, I'm going to sell it for $2 million. That's not necessarily the case. All right?
Love that. All right. Big round of applause. So if you guys have questions, just simply raise your hand. But this is something I'll put forward. That we need 5 million homes in Canada by 2030. I'll say it again, 5 million homes, 5 million units are needed in Canada by 2030. 5 years. Yeah, how? What are we going to do? What's happening? What do you see? And I'm definitely interested in what Patrick has to say about that, and also you in terms of mortgages and kind of MLI and products that are going to be able to support us. And of course, your backyard, smoking your backyard. Oh, sorry, that's something else. But turning your grass into cash. But who wants to take this one? Hello, friends. Alfonso here, the godfather of real estate, and sorry to interrupt the podcast because I know it's very interesting. First things first, I want to thank you for following the podcast, subscribing, and what I'm going to ask you to do is share the podcast with someone you love. Send them an episode. Get your friends and family to subscribe. Now, you've been watching us for a while, and if you haven't come to one of our events yet, I'm going to invite you to come to one of our events. So go to wealthgenius.ai/events. wealthgenius.ai/events. And we have events happening all across the country, not just boot camps. We have expos, we have conferences, we have virtual events. Come to one of our events, whether it's free or, those smaller events, whatever you got to do, engage with Wealth Genius and all the events that we have coming up, and you will not regret it. So go to wealthgenius.ai/events, wealthgenius.ai/events, and catch me in your city. We'll see you soon. Back to the show. Where are we going to come up with 5 million homes? 5 million units.
Just leave it to Carney.
Well, he said he's gonna build how many? He said 400,000 a year or something. Yeah.
$1.3 million.
Well, yeah, I know this is what's happening. So there's a disconnect, obviously, between what's needed, what's being advertised, and what we're actually doing, and what will be accomplished. So I'll go to Calvin.
So one of the things that's happening in our backyard is infill development and their focus of these 15-minute cities. So essentially what we're seeing right now, if you're driving around Edmonton or even Calgary, is there's the massive densification within the city core. And actually, interesting enough, can you believe that there's some schools that are shut down in the city core? There's some playgrounds with no kids in it. There's a lot of small businesses that are suffering. And so over and beyond just trying to allow for the population to actually have a home and not pay outlandish prices for rents and everything else like that and property prices, they've created this initiative in 2024 where you can essentially, infill a single family home where you'd have one family and you could build, an 8-unit, 6-unit, 9-unit, sometimes 10 units, depending on the size of the lot. So we're seeing a lot of that development that's happening right now. Is that creating further complications? Absolutely. Is every single neighbor excited about it? No. You can look up a classic photo in Edmonton where there's like a 10-unit building, and then you have this small little bungalow that's like 600 square feet in the middle, and then there's another 10-unit building, so it feels like there's like this alley that's now created for this little poor family or old lady.
Parking.
They're probably trying to make it into a parking garage, but we're seeing a lot of infill development right now. And I know a lot of buyers are using the MLI Select. You want to be careful on how you are utilizing it and making sure that it fits within your overall plan. But we're seeing a ton of density right now in the city. And the city of Edmonton has opened up the gates to allow a lot of it, and they're dealing with the problems afterwards.
Yeah.
We're seeing the same thing here in Ontario, in Alberta. In Edmonton specifically, they went to 8 units, which is fantastic. Here in Ontario, they went to 3 units everywhere as of right. But many municipalities are up in the game to 4, 6. I haven't seen 8 yet here in Ontario, but I have seen 6. So that's happening right here in Ontario as well, for sure. And that's what the missing middle is all about. How do you take what used to only house one family and make it at least up to 4? Is kind of where Ontario is landing right now. And I think it's a huge part of the solution, Alfonso. I don't think it is the entire part of the solution, but I think it's a huge part of the solution. You're definitely increasing the densification of those properties in a good way. And I 100% agree with Calvin. I like to say not every property is good for a missing middle development. Like, they're not all well suited for it, but there are some that are incredible, and the ROI is off the charts when you do it right. And I'll explain more on Sunday why that is, but I must say that not every property is right for that kind of development. And if you do the wrong kind of development on the wrong property, it'll hurt you more than help you. And I think that's part of the challenge people are going to run into as they go down this road, and we're kind of just driving for housing. You know, if you end up creating a unit that's not very great, not very desirable in a hot market, it'll rent, it'll be good. And some of you, I'm sure there's lots of people in this room that have some of those units right now, where 2 years ago, you used to rent that thing easy, you know, top dollar, goes like that, no problem, tons of applications. But now you're finding it hard to rent those places, and you're finding it difficult. You're having to do rent reductions in a big way to fill them. And, you know, some people unfortunately get caught up in that. So, yeah, but missing middle is definitely a big part of the solution, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
So to build on that on the capital raising side, if you guys have a chance to listen to Denise and Stuart McPherson, who are presenting this weekend, they talk about MFTs, specifically registered funds. So there's well over $1 trillion of wealth in Canada that is held in various forms of registered funds. RRSPs, RESPs, TFSAs, LIRAs. And some 90+% of that is primarily managed by banks in non-real estate related stuff, or at least not residential related portfolios. Individuals are able, even if it's a locked-in registered vehicle, to move that over to like an Olympia Trust or to another trustee type organization, and to actually direct where that money goes. So for you as a real estate investor and developer, that gives you 2 additional types of potential capital for your projects. The first is if you already have several hundred doors under your belt, you have a sophisticated business ecosystem, it may be time for you to consider creating your own MFT, so that way you can be the holder, the recipient of those registered funds to deploy into your projects. If you're not there yet, you're not shut out of this kind of capital. Those individuals can collaborate with you and basically set up a registered funds mortgage. So it'll be brokered through the Olympia Trust or whatever trustee corporation that they're using, but they can use this money that's otherwise not, they're not active about it, they're not being mindful of it, they're just told by their bank representative, oh yeah, just leave it with us, there's nothing else you can do about it.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah, set it and forget it, 1%, 3% a year, or whatever. And for those that are comfortable taking the risk, because obviously, investing in real estate, you create the wrong partnership with someone who's not doing a good underwriting, all those registered funds could be gone, right? So if you're interested in using your registered funds for this kind of project, make sure that who you're investing with, that they're solid, they have a good reputation, good underwriting. But if you're the person seeking the capital, those are 2 additional potential sources for you. And there are various individuals at the conference who part of their business model is making their MFT available to your projects. So if you bring them and say, I've got a great project, solid underwriting, whatever, they already have the legal vehicle and the expertise to go out and work with the Olympia Trust or other places to put the raise on the shelf for Olympia or others to get that capital in the door. So don't just think to yourself, I'm not a public corporation, so I'm restricted to friends, family, accredited investors. You can also get access to registered funds, and the majority of Canadians do have some form of a registered fund within their portfolio. So yes, it's a bit of effort, it's a bit of education, you got to get across to them that they have basically a dead asset. The bank wants them to think it's a dead asset because the bank wants to manage that money, but they could be managing it themselves.
Imagine you had trillions of dollars that could circulate now.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. Right now, that money's dead.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Just on the 5 million unit topic, does downtown Toronto not have like 5 million empty condos right now?
Yeah,
I feel
but
like
the issue with that is those condos are overpriced.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
But
So they're not
I'm joking, but also joking, not joking. Like
They're cultivating like wine.
kidding, not kidding.
It costs too much to build. And like someone,
But there's some
and
housing.
I'll go to Patrick on this
Yeah.
after this, but go finish your point.
Yeah.
But like, what's gonna? There's something that's melting down over there, and we haven't seen the extent of it. But what do you think is gonna happen?
So it's a big conversation. So I want to just go. So first, 5 million units. We need 5 million units is what the headline is. That statement was made by a politician. So the first thing is that's a lie. So I'll just say that. So I'm not denying that it could be 5 million units. The point is that when you look at Canada, you have to say, okay, we need 5 million units, but where? What type of units do we need? So as investors, we have to look at, number one, the market who's our demographic, who do we want to cater to, what is the gap that we're trying to fill. Now, in some areas, it's going to be multifamily, let's say 12 units and up, and we're going to want bigger projects. I want to caution everybody is that given with the MLI Select program and what they've done over the past several years, you've got a flood of multifamily coming into the market. So be aware of it. Not everywhere, by the way, but in many regions. So you have to be very aware of what's happening in your particular market. To the condo market in Toronto, they're pivoting as quickly as they can. We're starting to see developers turn whole buildings into rental units. So all of a sudden you're going to have a flood of rental units coming on, and some are having reasonably good luck doing that. Is like do that as opposed to go down. So they're figuring that stuff. You know, dog crate kennels, dog crate condos are, you know, that was the thing in Toronto. Those are gone, and nobody's buying them anymore, and you can't sell them. So we got to take Toronto off the map. The challenge that we're all facing, and you're all facing, is you're seeing the headlines, and the headlines are melting down, doom and gloom. It's brutal, and most of those are being driven by two markets, Toronto and Vancouver. So just be aware of that and look behind it. So get clear on who is the demographic that you're trying to serve. What is the market you're playing in? So JG knows Peterborough like the back of his hand. Like he knows it. He's in the trenches every day. He's doing property management. He's doing development. He knows what is needed in that particular area. So he's focused on those. I'm going to encourage you, and I know Calvin's built that way, and we all have that up here, but I'm suggesting to you is that you look at what is the gap that you're trying to fill in terms of the units that you are buying and or building, and then be really focused on that. So I don't know if that's helpful, if that answers your question or not.
I love that.
And then one other thing I don't want to step over before I forget.
Yeah.
I'm going to encourage everybody, and I'm guilty of it too, but think of yourself as rental housing providers, not landlords. So think about that. And Helen, when you had your MPs out there, think of the difference in terminology if you say I'm a rental housing provider. Takes the jag off a landlord, and as a rental housing provider, what's the subconscious? That person's solving a problem, right? So it's a little different, and I know these are linguistics and they're nuances, but they really do make a difference of how people hear you, and especially in markets where landlords are just bad, you know, BC and Ontario, because, you know, landlords are those people that rip everybody off. You know, we know that's not true, but that's the narrative out there. So if you can be a rental housing provider, just shifts the languaging.
Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, go ahead. I'll just go use this.
Yeah, you're also starting to see rent to own too, right? That's the other new thing. Sorry, thank you, Wendy. You're also starting to see rent to own start to come on the marketplace now too, right? So there's a great example of where there's organizations now across Canada, a couple of them in particular, they're now, you know, getting clients into their homes, renting, increasing the rents a certain amount to save the down payment, and kind of structuring a deal within, you know, a 2 or 3 year window where they would acquire that property at a set price back at the beginning. So again, another opportunity, just different ways and creative ways to think about that. We have a client.
Can I interrupt just one quick second? I want to insert there because I think it's such a great point that he's making, and back to what Wendy said earlier and what we're saying. Consider the strategy that you're going to use given what's going on economically in whatever region you're in. So why is rent to own probably a pretty good strategy in most markets right now? Can you answer that question? Why is that? Affordability. I wasn't asking you the question. You're a highly trained professional. You knew the answer. Oh, God. Thank you, Alfonso. So the point is that that's a perfect example of changing the strategy to accommodate what's happening in the market, and that rent-to-own strategy in many markets, because of the affordability gap, will be a strategy that you want to educate yourself on. And it's not as easy as many people make it out to be. You can get into trouble with it, so make sure you're well versed in what rent-to-own is all about so you don't create a bunch of fires that you have to fight.
Yeah, and so it's a great point, and it's definitely educating yourself is critical going into that kind of space. I mean, we've also, other clients are, you know, buying commercial properties now, knocking them down and putting 8, 12 units up now. So again, I mean, you know, it's not going to be 5 million, but you're starting to grow it one at a time. Knock down, we did construction financing for the client. They've knocked down the property. They're now building four duplexes now. So on that same property, it becomes an 8-unit property now. So just different creative ways. We have a lady that's taking a reverse mortgage out. Again, another topic. Because again, she's retired and is worried about the monthly mortgage payments, so she's taking advantage of reverse mortgage and building an addition on her house now where she can rent it out. So again, just different creative strategies as you're talking about, understanding what's out there and talking to the right experts around the team that you're circulating around.
Nice. The thing that comes to mind is obviously you mentioned the condos, but there will be a time in the future where there will be no condos, right? Because no one's building. And when are they going to build? Who knows? By the time someone gets excited again, and I mean, they take all this inventory that's on the market right now, which seems ridiculous, and it seems like it will never go away. It will be all scooped up at one point in time, right? And at some point in the future, there will be a lack. And so, where are the cap rates going to go at that point in time? And so you'll see that. But what do you say to that?
What's the question?
The question is just simply the fact that there's going to be a lack of units in Toronto, condo units.
Well, 100%. So in this case, though, you can slow things down. You don't have to chase deals. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better in terms of price points.
Yeah.
There's going to be lots of time, but keep your eye on that market to see where the opportunities exist. But you're going to have to live through that downturn. So you're going to have to have cash. You're going to have to be able to get through that market and figure it out. Great opportunity, depending on who you want to talk to. And I haven't looked at the data in Toronto specifically. I'm just not a condo person. I don't believe in condos as investment units, but that's a different conversation. But if you're into that space, there's going to be huge opportunities, and that gap is going to probably really start to appear in 2 to 3 years.
All right, so I'm sensing the stomachs are rumbling here. People are getting hungry, so we're going to wrap it up and give us your best piece of advice that you ever heard in real estate. We'll start with Tomas, and we'll go down and then we'll wrap it up.
Real estate advice.
Yeah.
Wow.
That you can give our audience here and the people listening at home.
Best piece of advice. You can do it. Next.
All right, give it up for Tomas. You can do it.
My best piece of advice comes to the very first conference I ever went to, which was the REIN conference, when they were hosting it in Edmonton, and I felt like the smallest person in the room, and everybody was so much further than me, and I could have, I made a choice at that moment that I could have always felt like the littlest person and didn't take any action, or I could take one small step that day, meet somebody new, learn something different, and just take some form of action. So take some form of action from this weekend. You got to have confidence in yourself, and if you can have an accountability partner, someone that you can team up with that pushes you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when it is time for you to start taking these points of action, do it. Because we've all felt like the littlest person in the room, and it's your responsibility to grow yourself and build and surround yourself with the right people. So fork in the road, and we believe in you. So make that right step, okay?
Woo! Love it.
Stay in an environment that supports your success. That's why you're in this community. Stay in this community. Stay having conversations. So with bar none, if you put yourself in the right environment, you'll set yourself up to succeed. And in this case, you're in the right environment to do that. Compare yourself to no one else and only focus on your next deal. And I can tell you, and JG knows this, and anybody who's got any experience knows this, I've seen people who are impressive with $100 million portfolios and $500 million portfolios, and they seem to be rocking and rolling, and they absolutely crumble because they haven't set themselves up and set the infrastructure right. Compare yourself to nobody, and don't worry about 100 doors or 50 doors. Just your next door. Stay focused on that, and one step at a time. It is, in fact, a journey, not a race.
Love it. Woo!
Wow. I got to follow that, eh? Wow. I'm going to echo what Calvin said, though. I remember, same thing, Calvin. I would go to my first REIN meeting 15 years ago. I get in the parking lot driving my Mazda, and I see Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, and I'm thinking, holy shit, where am I? Like, what am I doing here? And I 100% agree with you. And it came down to three things for me. And the first thing is mentor. You need a mentor. You need to find someone, and this room, Alfonso, this organization is that mentor for you. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a company. It could be it could be a system. But you have to have a mentor that has the results that you want to have, and then follow the direction of that mentor and take massive action. So you need a mentor, you need a model that works, and you need a moment. You need to take your moment. And you guys have all had this over time where you had a moment where in your gut you're like, man, I know this is right. I got to do this. And maybe you did and maybe you didn't do it. But the next time you feel that moment, it might be this weekend. You're going to hear something from someone. Someone's going to say something. It's probably Patrick because he's really wise. But someone's going to say something and you're going to feel and you're going to say, shit, I know I got to do that. Then get up and go do it. Like right then, right there. Because action is the thing that's going to set you apart from everybody else.
Woo! I like that.
Wisdom, guys, wisdom. I have one very simple thing to say. There's a lot that we have to do in this business. It's a lot of serious things. There's numbers, there's negotiations, there's deals that go bad, there's deals that go good. It can be serious. But guys, have fun. Yeah. Have fun. That's the bottom line.
Woo!
To build off JG's point about having mentors in your life, similarly, consult your advisors who need to be proactive in your business ecosystem, your accountant, your lawyers. Consult them before you sign the agreement of purchase and sale. Consult them before you sign the financing commitment. Your professional advisors should understand what it is that you're doing and why is it that you're doing that. So they can give you a candid response, even if it's great underwriting and it's a great a deal in and of itself, but is it the right deal for you? And as a piece of concrete advice on the legal side, always, 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 this is not legal advice, but general courtesy, if it is not your personal residence, sign the agreement of purchase and sale in a corporation's name. And I'll give you an anecdote from just last week. It was supposed to be signed or was signed in a person's name. They had just become a client. I told them immediately get this over to a corporation. The deal ended up closing. It was literally 30 seconds away from not closing. They were going to default. And in Ontario, the courts don't care. You signed that agreement of purchase and sale, you are liable for the purchase price. Had they not, I'll phrase it this way, in a parallel universe, we didn't get that extension 30 seconds before the buzzer. And they didn't meet me, and they stayed personally on their agreement purchase and sale. And they would have ended up with $500,000 personal liability. Mm-hmm. And it's not just about, well, where do I come up with the money? It's also, you're not getting any financing from anywhere, because now someone's going to have a pending litigation against you. So go to the government's website. If you don't want to use a lawyer, just close in a corporation. It'll save you a headache, and it's generally more tax efficient to run property through a corporation than it is through personally. But yeah, your advisors need to be involved in what you're doing, and if they're not, you got to switch advisors. You can't have reactive people working with you. What we're doing, what you guys are doing, it's not boom times anymore. So when we're getting creative, it means we're increasing risk. We're increasing vector points for something going wrong, for misinterpretations of what the arrangement was or whatever. And that's why your professional advisory team needs to be on the ball. They need to know what you're doing, where you're going, and why.
Love it. Woo! Woo! Don't get sued.
Yeah, to boil it down, don't get sued.
Not necessarily real estate specific, but your second life begins when you realize you only have one. And it's about taking action. Today marks the day. 1 year ago, I had cancer surgery, and I am cancer-free. And I'm so grateful I can walk. I still have my leg, all of the things, but I sit with that quote all the time, that your second life begins when you only have one, when you realize you only have one, and taking action every day, every little step. Do something every day towards your dreams and your goals, because that's what you're here for, and reach those goals. That's it.
Yeah.
Wow, how do you follow that one? It's like JG after Patrick. And again, a lot of it's already been said. Amazing responses from the panel here. Again, boiling it down, I think really it's about surrounding yourself with the right team is critical. Your professionals, your lawyers, your accountants, your mortgage guys and gals. It's all that group, making sure that you've got them surrounded. and reaching out to them, utilizing them, like bouncing at things by. We've got clients that've got like pre-cons that are now, upside down on, and it's like, it's gut wrenching when they're paying $2,000 a month, negative cash flow. So bringing people in at the right time is critical, and surrounding yourself around those people. The other piece I'd say is the community. I mean, Alfonso's built a tremendous community here. 1,500 plus members. It's an amazing group. You've got a lot of resources in the room and the surrounding areas across the country. Utilize them. Honestly, they've either maybe already been there, they may have had mistakes, they may have had learnings from it. Tap into those resources, understand what they've got. And then I think the third thing really is understanding your market, kind of what Tomas said before. It's like, when we were driving around, we're going to Sudbury one day, we're going to Windsor another day, we're going to London, we're going to Cambridge. You can't be an expert in all these areas. So pick an area you want to start and then branch out from there. Or maybe you're going to continue investing in there. JG's an expert in Peterborough, right? So those are the things just to think about. I think it's the takeaways.
Love it. Another big round of applause for the panelists. And guys, did you enjoy that? Make some noise if you enjoyed that. So that's the Wealth Genius podcast, and I'm going to sign off, and you know how I sign off. Alfonso loves you, and we're going to see you all at the top. Woo! That's it. Thank you, guys. We want to bring Expand to multiple different cities, and we're really excited about our next Expand number 9. We want to bring it back to where it all started. So Expand number 9 is going to happen in Ottawa, Ontario. For the very first time, Expand will come to Ottawa, where it all took place, where it all started. So that's May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the first weekend of May in Ottawa, Ontario. We're gonna turn it up. We're gonna turn it up in the nation's capital. Let's go.